Hi everyone. That music started to send me into a trance there. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name's Jenny and I work in the Office of Philanthropic Partnerships and Alumni here at the University of York. So this session was organised to mark World Mental Health Day, and we're really grateful that you've taken some time for your own mental health, which is always difficult when we're all so busy, and to learn a bit about the art collection at the university. Just a bit of housekeeping. We're going to be recording this session, so your cameras and mics will remain off throughout. But if you do have a question, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we're going to do our best to answer them. So for this workshop today, I'm joined by Professor Scott Kearney, who's the Director of the Institute of Mental Health Research at York, and he's also a Professor of Sleep and Mental Health within the Psychology Department, and Dr. Helena Cox, who's our Resident Art Curator, and she's going to lead the session today. So before we begin to explore the art, Professor Kearney is going to talk to us a bit about the Institute of Mental Health Research and World Mental Health Day in general. So I will hand over to him now.
Thanks very much, Jenny, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this fantastic event. As Jenny said, my name is Professor Scott Kearney, and I'm the new Director of the Institute for Mental Health Research at York. So I'm really pleased that you can all join us this evening to mark this event for World Mental Health Day. And World Mental Health Day is a really important event because we're not only raising awareness about mental health, but it's also a time to reflect on ways in which we can support our own mental health. So it's a fantastic time to have an event that focuses on art and mindfulness. So as Jenny said, I'm going to talk a bit about the Institute of Mental Health Research, and I think an important place to start is that the research that we do is really focused on improving and sustaining mental health for everyone across the world. And in order to do that, we bring together researchers and clinicians and people with lived experience from various different walks of life and with various different types of expertise, so that we can understand mental health from an interdisciplinary perspective and gain wide-ranging views and points of experience to feed into the research that we're doing so that it can make meaningful change to people's lives. So we have expertise from neuroscience and psychology, such as the department that I'm in, from education to social sciences. And importantly, we also have great input from arts and creativity, because arts and creativity is a really powerful way to reduce stress, to improve our mood, and to benefit our overall mental health. And it's not surprising that nowadays a number of mental health interventions use arts and creativity to help people and support their mental health and make real change in their lives. And it's important to say that a lot of this work has been very generously funded by donors through our Mentally Fit York Fund, have provided very generous donations so that we can continue very innovative research in different areas that brings together our partners across different disciplines, including arts and creativity. So at this point, what I'd like to do is introduce Dr. Helena Cox, who has a very important job because she is the art curator for the University of York. She's responsible for looking after over 900 pieces of art, a very extensive collection, and she has a really amazing knowledge and breadth of expertise in this area, which is really important when we're thinking about the history of art and the way in which this can feed into interventions to support people's well-being. And tonight, Helena is going to be talking us through some of the art that she's in charge of, that she creates, and explaining how interacting with art in this way can support our mindfulness and health and well-being. So I'm delighted at this point to hand over to Helena, and she's going to be telling us all about the wonderful work she does. So over to you, Helena.
Thank you so much. It's such a lovely evening and so wonderful to be here. Many thanks to the lovely introductions. It's a really great pleasure. And I will shortly share my presentation. But first off, I wanted to welcome everyone, and I wanted to just share a little overview of what are you to expect of this evening. So first off, we're going to start with me talking you through just a bit of a brief introduction into our wonderful art collection. session here at the University of York. And then we will come to the kind of highlight of this event, which is that I will guide you through a mindful session of slow looking at one particular painting. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is until we actually get to the meditation, to the session. And then after the meditation, I will return to my presentation and I will uncover what the painting was, tell you a bit about the artist, and just tell you a few stories from behind the scenes of the University Art Collection, and that will pretty much be it. And while this all is happening, maybe not during the meditation, but any other time during the session, if you do have any questions, there is a Q&A function within the meeting, so you should be able to see a little Q&A icon, and if you have any questions, please pop them into this Q&A box, and at the end of the session I will be able to see them, and Jenny, who just spoke a minute ago, will be able to help me and kind of guide me through the messages. So if you do have a question that you would like to ask, please feel free to do so during the session. But as I said, maybe not during the meditation, so that you can really kind of pour your heart into the experience. So let me now share my screen, and let's see. There we go. Brilliant. So I'm really delighted that I can talk about our wonderful art collection in celebration of World Mental Health Day. Some of the images that you see here on my introductory slide are mainly to illustrate the joy that we all feel when we work with the artwork, and the kind of joy that we would really love people to feel when they interact with artworks and exhibitions on campus. The sculptures that you see are all sculptures from the campus. If you haven't been, I really hope that you can find your way, and I very much hope that after this session and after every interaction with our collection, your smiles will be brimming, just like the smiles on all the faces on this first image. Right, so I'm sure that many of you know the University of York, but maybe not everybody knows that art, collecting art, contemporary art and sculpture has been, from the very inception of the university, really firmly embedded into in the university's ethos and outlook on the world. So from its very first days in 1963, the university started collecting artworks, and it worked very actively with contemporary artists as well. So there were artists working on campus, there were exhibitions of people such as Henry Moore. So the university really looked at its grounds and at the campus as a place where contemporary art had its was welcome and had its place. And we're very much trying to revive this tradition and make sure that this tradition only keeps getting stronger as the years roll by. We have over 900 artworks in the collection. Now, when I started working in the collection in 2022, we've counted about 900 artworks. So ever since then, I've been saying 900, but I think we're probably nudging towards 1,000 now, because in reality, we have found loads of artwork on campus, which have been kind of stowed away, hidden away, and we have discovered them. So I think we probably do have many more. And as of today, actually, we have 11 more artworks. And Scott talked so beautifully about Mentally Fit York. And before coming here to speak to you tonight, I just had the most amazing experience with artists Griselda Pollock and Steve Hodgson, with whom we had a project at the Borthwick Institute for Archives and Research Collections, where our art collection lives. And we have commissioned them to work with archives from the Borthwick relating to the retreat, which used to be Mental Health Hospital. And based on these archival records, these artists created an amazing set of 11 artworks. So as of today, we probably have around 1,011 artworks in the collection. So as you can see, the collection is incredibly dynamic and keeps growing. We also have 15 sculptures on campus, which is really, really important, especially when it comes to mental health, because spending time outdoors and spending time outdoors admiring art is something that really incredibly boosts mental well-being. And as you might well know, our campus is open, so there isn't any wall that you can't get through. There isn't anyone stood at the door who would not allow you to come in. So even if you're not a current student of the university or a member of staff, you are most welcome to come. And while sometimes it might be difficult to get into spaces, maybe if there's teaching on and you can't always see all the 2D artwork that is on display, you can definitely always see the 3D artworks and our wonderful sculpture trail, which has 15 sculptures dotted all around Campus West. At the moment, there is one sculpture on Campus East, but we do have great plans of expanding that. So ideally in the future, we should have sculptures dotted around both venues, both parts of the campus. And what is really exciting is that this idea that sculptures should be everywhere around campus and that they should be bringing beauty and also kind of spiritual uplift or mental uplift to people as they move through the campus. This is not something new and it's not something accidental. I mentioned the amazing archives that we have at the Borthwick. So we, as part of these archives, we have maps of campus from the 60s, from the 70s, 80s and 90s through the decades. And periodically, there are maps that show places that have been identified on campus as places ideal locations for the future placement of sculptures. So when I came across these records and these maps, I was absolutely blown away because it's real proof that the presence of sculptures on campus is not something accidental or just kind of organically happened to be there. It's something that a lot of thought went into throughout the decade. So it's not something that just somebody had an idea to do it, but then nobody carried through. It's something that has been really on the mind of people employed by the university for a very, very long time. And the weather might be getting a bit kind of tricky as it comes to winter, but we do run guided tours of the sculptures as well, which in itself is a very uplifting and mindful experience. So I would encourage you to keep in touch, and whenever a new guided tour of the sculptures comes up, please do join us, because it's incredibly uplifting to be walking through the beautiful landscape of the campus and be uplifted by artwork as you move along. Well, I mentioned that obviously the outdoors is welcome to everyone, but we also have artworks that are indoors, and I am showing you a view of Haslington Hall, which is the oldest part of the campus, and in the very center of the building, the kind of biggest, most ornate room, let's say on the ground floor, is actually going to be in just a very short amount of time is going to be our new gallery space, our Haslington Hall Art Gallery space, which for the first time in a long time will be first truly dedicated art gallery space on campus, something that is not going to be used for any other purpose, but will be permanently an art gallery. And I will tell you a bit later about what we're planning to do there. But that is a place that is going to be open for anyone and everyone to visit. And we are really very keen to bring students, staff, alumni, and also the public from all over the city and beyond to come and explore this beautiful space. So I'm very, very excited that there will be this exhibition space available very soon. And apart from that, there's quite a lot of different pocket displays of artworks in various places around the university. We've got a gallery in the library building. We're developing actually a new display space in there as well. There's a wonderful student exhibition in the History of Art department. There's a display space in the Berwick Soul building, in Spring Lane building. There's a whole trail of artworks inspired by politics, so quite a hot topic, maybe not so good for your mental health actually, but definitely something great and inspiring to see. So there's a lot to see on campus, and I'm very, very excited about that. Now, this slide doesn't have that many images, but it's got loads of links and things. It's got tasks for you to do after this talk. So if this talk has inspired you to explore the art collection and you want to know a bit more about it, we've developed various online resources for people who maybe can't make it to campus or who just want to find out about what we've got. So we've got an amazing online catalogue of the collection. So almost all of the 1,011 pieces are there. Maybe not the latest ones because we are still in the process of cataloging, but you can browse this catalog, and all the items, all the artworks that you will see today in the presentation, you can actually dive in and find them online. And we have this wonderful zoom function, so you can actually zoom into the images and have quite a close look at the images. They're all photographed, or most of them are photographed by our wonderful photographer Paul Shields, who documents the whole art collection and is a great source of help with everything to do with the art collection. So it's a really great resource to have this online catalogue. And we've also developed online pages on the University of York website directory. You can pop Art on Campus into the University of York website, and it will tell you, it's like a grey directory which takes you to all the different projects that we're working on, all the different trails that are on campus. You can find out more about the sculpture trail. So there is a map of the sculpture trail, should you feel like you want to have a go on your own and follow that. There's also a map of the Art of Politics trail, our Art and Biology trail. All the information about what's happening with the art collection is there in one place. So if the long winter evenings are coming up, so if you feel like the winter is getting to you and you just want to snuggle with your cup of tea and something exciting to do online, you can dive into this treasure trove of information and dive into the website. And then there comes a point where you don't want to be browsing anymore. You just want to sit back and you want to listen to something uplifting. I am delighted that it will soon be almost a year, that we've been working on our podcast, University of York Art Collection podcast called Curator and Keeper, which is co-hosted by myself and my wonderful manager from the Borthwick, Gary Brennan, who is a media superstar. So if you want to hear someone who was born with a microphone in his hand, Gary is really a brilliant host. And with every single episode, we have a different guest. So every episode introduces you to some aspect of the art collection through talking to someone that we've worked with on a project, or someone who has been engaged with the art collection, or someone who plays an important role in the university. So among the guests that we've spoken to, we already had our Vice Chancellor, Charlie Jeffries, on the podcast. So that's a really exciting episode. We had the head of art history, Professor Michael White, Professor Penn Holland from biology, Laura Yeoman from the archives, Paul Shields, the photographer that I talked about, and others. So, and we've got a very exciting lineup of people who we're going to speak to as well. So this is a really fun thing to do if you just want to close your eyes and enjoy a quiet evening on the sofa with a bit of banter about art. And quite a few of the episodes actually also mention the mental health dimension of art, and people talk about how much having art on campus is really helping and boosting their mood and their own mental health. So it's a really great thing to have a listen to. So that will almost be all the kind of hardcore promotions that I want you to engage with. And so I kind of mentioned that we have quite a lot of artworks on campus. I just want to mention as well a great tribute to the funders from the past, because the art collection really started because of the Granada Art Fund, which was a fund which was specifically given to the university for the purchase and commissioning of contemporary art. So it's really amazing to see that this sort of funding can really enable something as massive, impactful, and positive as the University of York Art Collection, which could come about thanks to this initial pot of money and just keeps going from strength to strength. So, a good portion of funding at the right time for the right thing can really change the world and make it a better place. And we've got some amazing artists in the collection thanks to this. So we have artists like Barbara Hepworth, Sidney Noland, Keith Vaughan, Austin Wright, John Langton, Sally Arnott, and many others. Aubrey Williams, one of very, very important names, and it's a great joy to be working with his family as well, and I'll be talking about that a bit later. And now we're kind of moving from the introduction to the art collection to, so where does the mental health aspect and where does mindfulness come into this? So, you know, me talking about how we've got all these displays on campus and how many sculptures we've got, that's all reliant on the fact that we want people to come and look at them. Now, when it comes to looking at artwork, many of you might know, but when I first found out, I was really shocked that actually, according to studies, the average length of time that a regular visitor to an art gallery or a museum spends looking at a single artwork is 27 to 33 seconds per painting. That's not a lot of time. And now if you imagine that that maybe is the amount of time you spend with an artwork, but that is not only looking at the artwork, but maybe also reading the label. And there are people who go straight to the label and read the whole thing. There are people who just skim over. But if you think that you've got an artwork, if you imagine an artwork and a label and having just, you know, 27 to 33 seconds to do that, that doesn't really give you the time to fully enjoy the painting. And that's where the idea of slow looking comes from. During COVID, we've all experienced quite a lot of I think mental health oriented workshops and initiatives that really propelled the idea of slow looking. There were movements like slow academia, slow food, lots of different things. And suddenly the realization, you know, with the time that we had on our hands, suddenly there was this realization that actually doing things slowly might be incredibly beneficial. In art history, you know, I'm an art historian, and and a curator, and as art historians and curators, we're used to looking at things for slightly longer amounts of time. Although, having said that, maybe during my studies, I used to look at paintings for a really long time. But the more you have work to do, the busier you get, there's always so many emails to sort out and always so many messages pinging. And so we don't really, even as art historians, I don't think we always have the time to really slow down and properly look at a painting. And setting art history aside, you don't really need to be an art historian to look at something for a longer period of time and derive not only pleasure, but also uplift and some sort of inspiration from it. So inspired by that, some institutions, especially after COVID, invested into transforming their spaces into spaces where you could really lounge and relax and kind of unplug, you know, from the stress of everyday life. So especially Manchester Art Gallery has been a great pioneer in this. They have a whole section of their gallery which is referred to as the Mindful Museum, and they have these amazing chairs. So the image in the with the chairs and the ladies looking at the painting of a sea with the chairs, that comes from Manchester Art Gallery. So they have really created a space where you are asked to sit and enjoy the artwork. You're not meant to be just walking through. And as you can see in the image as well, there are no labels. And if you want to find out what the artwork is, you obviously can later on. There are, you know, there's a text, there's a printout, so you can read all about it. But the idea is that instead of coming to a painting and quickly skimming it and, you know, seeing the label, oh, okay, I've seen this famous artist, something, moving on, you are invited to really connect to the artwork in a much more personal way, and maybe a way that isn't so rationally motivated. So you're not there to see, you know, to tick off that famous artist, but you are there to emotionally connect to the artwork, and that's your main kind of reason of going there. So what we're going to do today will be slightly based on that. And mindfulness, I think I probably don't even have to explain the term mindfulness, although a few years ago it wasn't as widespread as it is now, and it's very much based on the ideas of Jon Kabat-Zinn and his publications from the 1980s, and it's been really expanding ever since then. It's something that is based basically on the mindful observation, so being present in the moment, fully in the moment, and non-judgmentally observing what is happening. And when I say seeing and observing in the mindfulness tradition, this is not just looking with your eyes, but it's something that is meant to be done with the whole of your body. So ideally, today when it comes to our meditation, I will ask you to sit in a comfortable position, ideally with your feet on the floor. I will also ask you not to kind of sit in some kind of, you know, uncomfortable, logistically difficult position. Just make yourself really comfortable, ideally with your hands just placed in your lap. And we will be focusing quite a lot on our breathing. And funnily enough, we will start the session of slow looking and meditating by closing our eyes. So very shortly, I will ask you to close your eyes. And before I will do that, I will just explain that the image that you can see, apart from the lovely ladies that are enjoying the seascape, Professor Michael White is pictured here looking at our Aubrey Williams painting. And I had to choose this particular painting and this particular picture because this is actually an Aubrey Williams artwork from our collection, which has been loaned to the Tate a few years ago. So I'm very, very pleased that artworks from our collection do go to places like the Tate. And since then, it has also traveled to the Art Gallery of Ontario in Canada. So our artworks get to see some amazing places. But as you can see in the picture, there isn't a sofa in front of it. So unfortunately, people couldn't quite dive into it in a meditative way. But that's what we're going to do now very shortly. So I would ask you all to just give yourself into this experience. And maybe some of you have meditated before, and maybe you have even experienced meditating with art or slow looking at art. But even if you haven't, I would just ask you to keep a completely open mind. And it might feel a bit bizarre if you haven't done it before. And in the very beginning, because we're all so used to skimming through and rushing through art galleries and just moving to the next thing, it might feel a bit bizarre to be suddenly asked to look at one single artwork. But I would ask you to just keep your mind open and just lend yourself to the experience fully. Just see how you feel. It's not going to be that long, so if you're really, really bored, don't worry, there will be an end to it. But I think you will discover, you might actually surprise yourself, because hopefully through the experience of maybe confusion of what is it that's actually happening, I think you will discover a connection to the artwork that you might not have experienced before. So I do really hope that you enjoy this. So I will now ask you to close your eyes, sit in a very comfortable position with your back upright, just very gently leaning against the chair or your sofa, with your feet on the floor, and with your arms resting in your lap. Ideally, you don't need to hold anything in your hands. You can just rest your hands in a way that the palms are looking upwards, so you can just leave them open. And if I could very kindly ask for the music to be turned on now, we will soon dive into the music and the artwork. So first, close your eyes and just taking a very deep breath. Start with about 3 deep breaths in and out. Just intentionally trying to keep the breath as long as possible. So trying to fill your lungs completely, and then holding for a moment. Not so it feels uncomfortable, but holding for a moment, pausing intentionally before breathing out. And then just breathing out and letting it all out. Deep breath and a deep breath out. And another one in. Just focusing on how it feels in the body. With your eyes closed, just thinking of how it feels to be sitting down, just trying to feel a sense of calm coming through the body, and realizing the extent of our body. So just thinking about our head, and then the shoulders, and making sure the shoulders are comfortable, not keeping any tension in the shoulders, but just letting them rest. Feeling the calm going through the arms, just resting on your lap. And feeling each breath, with each breath, the belly expanding, and just letting it expand. And then continuing through our legs and into the calves. And then finding comfort in feet, being firmly planted on the floor. And just deriving a sense of strength and calm from this position. A sense of anchoring and calm. There is nowhere to rush at the moment. We've got the moment carved out for an experience of beauty. Slowly, as we're realizing this, just opening our eyes. And now in front of you, you see an artwork. I'm not trying to analyze what it is that I'm looking at, but just letting it make an impression on me. And as the first instance, just letting our eyes on the painting, just taking in the boldest colors, and just imagining that your eyes are like a skater skating on an ice and skating on a frozen lake, and you're just skating in circles, slowly moving in circles throughout the painting. And not even needing to stop anywhere, just a very slow, gradual move. And as you're moving through, you might start noticing things that attract your attention. Just moving very slowly through the painting and noticing, is there a color that I like? Is there a texture that feels appealing? Just very, very slowly making these circles. And when you feel that you've skated around the painting, I would like you to focus on the upper left corner of the painting. So imagine that the painting is divided into 4 squares, and we will be focusing on the upper left square. So just taking your attention into the square, the upper left square, and trying to stay within that square as if that was the entirety of the painting. And trying to imagine that the painting is like one of these infinity boards where you can just dive in deeper and deeper. Just looking really intently at the space in the upper left corner and recognizing shapes and colors. And at first you might think there's a bit of green, but then suddenly when you look longer, just realizing all the different colors that you can see in that area. Are there any yellows or blues? Is there any purple? Is there any red? Just trying to find all the different colors that emerge in that area of the painting. And as we're looking so closely on this part of the painting, suddenly shapes and colors that looked just like blobs of paint, are they maybe taking on the shape of something real, something that reminds you of an object or a person or an animal? So just allowing ourselves to dive deeper into the shapes in front of us and trying to see whether we can recognize shapes, whether something new comes around every single time that we look. And as our eyes are moving from one shape to another, can we suddenly see new things coming alive in front of us? So just letting that part of the painting take your imagination. And when you feel that you have spent a lot of time in that corner of the painting, now just moving very slowly to the upper right corner of the painting. So just moving ever so slightly to the right. Now realizing there is a whole different world in that part of the painting. It is still part of the whole, but suddenly this part is very different. And trying again to dive really deep into that section of the painting and allowing ourselves to be taken by surprise. What is it that I'm seeing in this part? Are there suddenly different colors? Am I discovering new shapes? Is there a different atmosphere in this part of the painting? Just letting ourselves really take the time to take in all the layers of what is being shown. There is no hurry to go anywhere. So just taking the time and unleashing our imagination. Can I see a bit of blue emerging? Is there a bit of red and yellow in places where I haven't realized before? And then allowing ourselves to free our mind and open it to imagination. Maybe we thought we've seen a tree or a hedge, but suddenly looking much longer, can we see something else? What do we think those colors mean? Just trying to recognize different shapes, and again, trying to find things that they remind us of. Is it a person emerging from behind a tree? Can I see a bird? Just letting the shapes and colors take over. And while we're looking, just breathing deeply and never losing track of our bodies. We're sitting straight and we're breathing slowly in and out, as if our eyes and our breathing are in perfect harmony and the whole of our bodies are taking in the picture. And letting ourselves as well bring the music into the picture and weaving the pleasant sounds into what we see with our eyes, inviting our senses to merge and to work together and opening connections in the artwork. Now, after we've been in the right upper corner of the painting, we will be slowly moving to the bottom right corner of the painting. And as your eye glides on the painting and finds a new section of the painting to explore, just allowing yourself to feel the reaction to the different colors and shapes that suddenly appear. Maybe it is a feeling of joy with the colors being lighter. Maybe the idea of what we've seen in the previous part of the picture is suddenly dismantled because we've come across something new. Maybe there's a confusion about what I'm seeing. Maybe there's delight because the color harmony is so pleasing. Just letting it talk to us in feelings and impressions that we might not even know the words for. And following the lines of paint, just moving in circular motion through that part of the painting and trying to imagine that maybe this time I am not only looking at the painting, but I'm also the painter, just imagining how it must have felt to touch the canvas with your paints, how it must have felt to put those colors in places where the colors are. Just trying to imagine the joyful feeling of creativity, of placing colors next to each other and capturing the beauty around. And imagining that your eyes are sitting on a kind of a swing and they're swinging to and fro, you can imagine zooming out of the painting and then coming back into the painting, almost like you're a pendulum and you're swinging from one part of it to another. And if there is a place within this part of the painting that the colors are especially pleasing, just allowing ourselves to swing right into that space. Just feeling the joy of being surrounded by the colors and imagining that you can physically step into the painting. And as we're moving through the painting, there's still one part of it that we haven't seen yet. So very slowly, we'll be moving to the bottom left part of the painting. Now suddenly the colors have changed again. And maybe before, when we were skating around the painting, you could have thought, there's a bit of some dark colors. But now that we're here, suddenly there's so many colors to see. There isn't a single place in the painting that would not have layers of paints and colors overlapping and bringing out its secrets. So even in this final part of the painting, just really zooming into it and taking delight in the different colors, in the different textures. And if your mind is trying to play analytic tricks on you, and if it wants you to identify what exactly it is you're looking at, just allowing it to sit in the uncertainty for a bit, and just enjoying the fact that sometimes we might know, and at other times we just might not know, and just embracing that feeling of experimenting and not always knowing what the outcome will be. Just letting the experience wash over us. And then as we're looking at this part of the painting, looking at the areas of the painting that remind us of water, and just imagining after we've been ice skaters over the painting and after we've been the painters of the painting, just imagining you can now dive into the painting. You can dive straight into that stream of water. And trying to find a bodily experience of this and just imagining how would it feel to step into this painting. Now looking at all different parts of the painting together, wherever your eyes are intuitively being attracted to, just imagining that you can dive into the painting and thinking of all the different senses that you might feel once you're in there. Can you feel the cool of the water? Can you maybe hear its sound? Can you think of a river or a brook? The water jumping over little stones and pebbles, maybe the sound of birds and ducks as they're diving into the water and skimming over it. And there's so much greenery, so just imagining that we're stood in that garden, just imagining there is fresh air that you can feel on your face, you can feel it on your arms and your hands. And maybe you're stood in a lawn and grass, maybe you're stood with your feet in the water, and just imagining all these sensations, not only with your eyes, but with the whole of your body, the delight of being outdoors, the delight of the fresh air, and the beauty of the greenery surrounding it. And if you're enjoying being in the painting, just imagine running through it, imagine dancing through it, or imagine just sitting in the shade underneath the trees, just giving yourself fully into the experience of the pleasure of the painting. And if there are areas of the painting that seem dark and perhaps scary, just allowing them to be what they are, just accepting that for joyful and warm parts of the painting, to be able to enjoy those, there need to be a contrast. So just embracing the presence of the lightness and warmth, as well as the coldness and the dark. And in the final moments of the meditation, I would like to invite you to turn into birds and just fly over the painting. We've been diving into it. We've been studying the textures. Maybe you can still see the different shapes and structures parading as animals or people or objects in front of your eyes. Maybe you have taken a step back and you're enjoying the garden and the landscape that you see before you. Whatever has brought you the greatest joy, imagine now that you're a bird just flying through the painting. You can circle around the beautiful greenery. You can soar through the sky. You can be a kingfisher and dive into the water and catch fish, or you can be like a butterfly set on one of the bushes or the hedges. And as we're saying goodbye to the painting, just having one last skim over its beauty and allowing oneself to feel whatever it is that has been brought to us. Maybe we feel gratitude to be able to see this work. Maybe we feel some sadness. Maybe it reminds us of times, places, and people. And this can be lovely and it can be difficult. But feeling the joy of being alive and being able to experience all these things. And just thinking of the gift that is to be alive and to have the senses that we have to experience the beauty around us. And with this, we shall just close our eyes and take a few breaths and slowly step out of the meditation. Just a few deep breaths. And if you want, you can slowly start stretching, maybe move your neck, your head, your shoulders. You can even move your arms or hands. Tap your feet, do a little dance in your chair, or even get up and stretch. And we can allow ourselves to just feel the joy of what we've just experienced. And with this, I would ask for the music to be stopped. And I will ask everyone to step out of the world of the painting and rejoin me back in, I was about to say the real world, but it's not the real world because the painting is the real world as much as our real world can be. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me for the meditation. And now I have to say, I want to continue. I know time is pushing, so I just want to say a few more things before we wrap up. But I do want to say that it's been really wonderful for me to be able to do this meditation with you. And although I cannot see you all, I'm very grateful for the reactions that I could see on the screen. And I really felt a sense of being connected. So I'm very, very grateful. And I would like to just very briefly step out and say what the painting is. So the painting we've been looking at is a painting of Newby Hall and Gardens by artist who is very dear to me, John Langton, who unfortunately passed away about a week ago. John Langton is an amazing artist from York, and when I was preparing this meditation, I had a few potential candidates whom I was thinking of, which of the paintings would be the best for the meditation. And last night I prepared something and then I thought I need to do this painting by John Langton because I feel such gratitude to have met John and to have so many of his wonderful paintings in the art collection. And the painting that we were looking at is a fantastic example of John's work because it has just enough hints in it that it gives you a glimpse of what the painting represents, but it has enough mystery and suggestion and yeah, just suggesting and letting your mind take you for a wander, and this beautiful place in between realistic depiction and a kind of symbolic representation is really, really dear to me. And I would also really like to dedicate this session and this meditation to the memory of John Langton. And I would also like to take the opportunity to share with you that we are working on a retrospective of John Langton, which will be held in the Heslington Hall gallery early next year. So please keep an eye out on what's happening. We will be announcing this, and I am so grateful that I got to meet John and talk with him at length about his amazing art. And we are incredibly lucky to have a fantastic selection of John's work in our collection. And here is just an image of the Newby Hall location. So John's painting, I think, is even more mysterious and poetic than Newby Hall itself, although Newby Hall is absolutely gorgeous as well. And also this painting pays tribute to the generosity of our students, staff, alumni and funders, because this painting is in our collection because it was commissioned by a former student, David Harvey, in memory of Professor Norman. And I think it's just so beautiful that a student had such a relationship with his professor that he decided to commission a painting to commemorate him. And this painting not only has been bringing joy and uplift to people throughout the decades in our collection, but brought us together tonight as well. So it just shows you that every act of goodwill and generosity creates a ripple effect and continues into the future, and many good things can come from it. So I am very much aware that I've got quite a few more slides, but I'm not sure we can actually get through them. And I was wondering whether maybe, Jenny, we should have a look at some of the questions.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions, so we can go for those. So Mel's asked, she actually runs mindful art sessions herself and regularly needs to reassure people that they don't have to be artistic. How do you approach any art resistance?
Art resistance in terms of like people not, thinking it's not for them because they're not artistic.
Yeah, I guess so.
Probably. So yeah, well, actually, there's twofold to this. So there are two kind of areas where I often hear people say, this is not for me. And partly this is when they say, well, I don't understand art. I'm not artistic. I'm not an art historian. I know nothing about it. You absolutely don't need to have any knowledge whatsoever to reap the benefits of an artwork and to have your own emotional reaction to it. So you really don't have to be an art historian, or you don't have to know anything about the artist or the artwork or the technique to get some positive benefits from it. And the second part is that, today we've been looking at kind of mindful engagement with a work of art that is already painted, but there's also a really great joy to be had when you're actually creating mindful art. And I would say that anyone is an artist, or anyone should be creating. Again, you don't have to have studied you don't have to be a Turner Prize nominee to think of yourself as an artist. The benefits of creating and creativity are really there for everyone. Now, this is quite easy to say and difficult to communicate to people who haven't tried it. So it's tricky how to explain it to someone who hasn't tried, but I would encourage everyone to give these things a go, because once you've tried it, you have the embodied experience of how much fun it is or how good it is for you. So I would, I'm so pleased to hear, that others are, using art and mindfulness together. And I would just encourage people to kind of nudge people who feel like it's not for them to just give it a go. Like, I challenge you, I dare you, just give it a go. Because once people experience it, I think quite a lot of people actually start feeling, you know what, this is good. This is good.
I think Alan has a really interesting question, actually. So you guided us through that painting so well and so beautifully, and actually, without your guidance, it might have been tricky. So how can we get help interpreting paintings for aiding mindfulness?
That's a really, really good question. And I'm very, very glad that you enjoyed the meditation, and that you feel that maybe without the guidance, it wouldn't be that easy, because that's something that I think a lot of people discover once they actually, go for it and experience it. There's quite a lot of, I think, publications now about mindfulness and art. I mean, I have trained with a mindfulness practitioner or mindfulness scholar who wasn't specifically oriented on doing mindfulness and art, but I wanted to kind of specialize in mindfulness and art. So I think partly, I think there's quite a lot of resources now that you can find, online, or there's publications about art and mindfulness. But also part of it, I would say, is just, trying it out and getting into the habit, because once you've tried it, you suddenly start seeing things differently. And when I was leading my very first, art, mindful art looking session, I learned so much afterwards. I kind of did it, and then the experience of doing it has really opened my own mind to how I can go about things. So I think actually trying it out is the best way. And if you're not sure how to do it yourself, the best thing is to keep an eye out for events like this. I very much hope that this is actually the first time that we're doing mindful slow looking for the public with our art collection, and I very much hope that this is going to be the first of many. So I would like to say, hopefully do keep in touch with us and come back for more sessions. And I do think that if you pop into the library at the university, there's loads and loads of resources on mindfulness in there, although not all of them are specifically on mindfulness and art. So maybe kind of keep in touch with the professionals who do lead guided meditations like this, because everybody has a bit of a personal take on it as well. That was a bit of a cryptic answer, but also I wanted to say in the start of the presentation, my email is there. If anybody has any reason, if anybody wants to connect to me and say, could you send me those resources that you were talking about, please do that, and I will be very happy to collate some sort of handbook of mindful art for you.
As I say, there are a couple of questions of people asking about resources. So, as Helena said, get in touch. I mean, we are at the very end of the session now, so I'm not sure we've got time for anything else. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you, Helena. That was really, really beautiful. Like, I'm not a fan of modern art personally, but actually staring at that photo for quite a while, I loved it. And I've been to Newby Hall, so I hadn't realised that was there. So, it was a really beautiful session. So really, really grateful to you and to Professor Kearney as well for coming today and talking to us. And hopefully, as Helena said, we'll do this again, because I think it was fascinating and really interesting to kind of dive into a piece in more detail. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody for attending tonight. And hopefully we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you so much, everyone, for giving it a go and being open-minded and joining me on this journey. It's been a really wonderful and humbling experience for me. Thank you.